All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Innovation Alchemy. My name is Adam Castle, Director of Venture Services and Partnerships at WEtech Alliance, and this is the podcast that explores the magic, the mess, and the mastery of innovation. I'm joined today in our new home in downtown Windsor by 4 downtown Windsorites. Is that the term? Is that the term that we're going with here?
I like it.
Is there a better term for it?
I like the downtowner.
The downtowners. Okay, we're downtowners. All right. 4 downtowners that are just doing all such different things in this space, but all dedicated to making it a better place in their own ways. And I'm very excited to have conversations with all of you. I've got some personal touches or personal kind of ties to each and every one of you. I DJ'd with some of you probably 20 years ago now. Others, we were part of special events and music in the downtown core. And so feels a little bit like homecoming for us here at WEtech. We're very excited to be here. There is so much momentum going on in downtown Windsor. And this is a conversation that's going to explore kind of all of it. So enough about me. I'm going to introduce the guest today. First, we have Jasen. Jasen is the vice president and founder of Rocket Innovation Studios, located right down here on Chatham Street in downtown Windsor. Next, we have Renaldo Agostino. Renaldo, this is a long one, man, local entrepreneur, event manager, visionary, and one of the hardest working councillors on the Windsor City Council right now. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Godfrey Nolan. Godfrey is president of RIIS, a new company to call downtown Windsor home, dealing in all manner of drone and information technologies. Godfrey, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And finally, last but not least, Lauren Hedges. Lauren, you are a program manager for Hackforge Windsor Essex, which is, no, not program manager. You're program manager for P42, you're director of programs or managing director of programs for Hackforge. We got through that eventually, didn't we? Yeah, absolutely. You're a photographer. You're a former host at CJM radio station as well as music director. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to go around the table and kind of just take a poll. What is your involvement in the downtown core? What are you guys doing here? And what do you see as the opportunities? So Jasen, maybe we'll start with you and the team at Rocket.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me here today. And I think we've been investing, in the downtown core for the last 6 years. We came here in 2019. Hoping to kind of expand our global talent across the border from the Rocket family of companies, kind of exploring this new pipeline here, but then also wanting to make sure that we had this strong community connection, very similar to what we've been able to do in the city of Detroit to help make a difference, while also working with a lot of our community and academic organizations to make sure that we're becoming more of an anchor in the community, not just a magnet for talent, but a magnet for folks that want to make a difference in this ecosystem here.
That's amazing. Yeah, Rocket has kind of gone everywhere. We've participated in some of the United Way walks that we've done to clean up the downtown core. You've participated in First Robotics. We see you kind of popping up more and more. We're so lucky to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. And it's so fun to see the appreciation from just the city itself too, even doing the cleanups, going out and seeing folks actually come out of their space. Thank you. We've had interns and co-ops experience that for the first time. And they're like, why are people thanking us? Because they're proud that you're here. And we're seeing the change. So we'd love to be a part of it.
That's awesome. And you can tell that you're proud to be here, which makes a big difference. Lauren, you're a downtowner from way back. You live downtown, you work here. What's your role at Hackforge, and what does Hackforge kind of do in the downtown core?
Yeah, Hackforge is a grassroots tech nonprofit. We've been located downtown pretty much since the inception. Back in 2012, before I was involved because I was far too young to be working back then, Hackforge started in the basement of the old downtown library branch, RIP. There was time when we were in Reno's kitchen, we were in the old Chinoso's space. Then there was, a period of time where Hackforge was out of the accelerator, so not quite downtown, but we've now been back in the core since 2018-ish. So, we are very familiar with downtown. Hackforge focuses on creating an opportunity for folks who work in the tech space to kind of come together and meet, but not in the just here's a business card, shake my hand kind of way. Yeah. That's totally fine. But tech folk are weird. So they often need something a little bit more to help them engage. And tech is such a broad landscape that, somebody who's working with drone software is not really in the same realm as somebody who, focuses on WordPress. So Hackforge tries to offer ways to integrate people from all different aspects of the technology landscape together, and just to meet more of the people who are working in the same space as them.
That's amazing. And you also work with a local tech company downtown called P42 as well?
Yes, Parallel 42 Systems. I've been working with that company since probably 2018 or so. We've also always been downtown. Again, we were in Reno's Kitchen. We were in 500 Roulette. Now we're in the 300 building. Like half of the tech in downtown Windsor now, I suppose. Yeah. So at Parallel 42, we are a commercial company. We're basically the commercial arm of Hackforge. We still do a lot of community work. Last year, we put out a walking tour that covered Windsor and Detroit and gave folks walking directions to different street murals. So if you want to see, everything that's going on in Eastern Market, or if you are from Detroit coming to visit Windsor and you don't know where our art alley is, you can get directions to that, as well as other places in the city where there's cool things spray painted on the walls. So that's a lot of fun. And then we love to work with nonprofits. So we've had a lot of cool clients in that space, and I'm a big fan of that job.
That's awesome. We love the stuff that you do with all of the open data in Windsor, and being able to have a place where people can come together in that tech community that's not overly produced. There's this opportunity to really connect with people and just kind of nerd out in that space. I sat on the board for Hackforge for a few years when it was downtown as well, and it's just such a great community. It was really welcoming. So
thanks, man.
I love the stuff that you guys do. Renaldo, you're no stranger to downtown. You've been here. You've lived here. You've been working here. Tell us a little bit about your journey in Windsor.
Oh man, I think this is my 35th year of being here, being downtown, own business, living downtown, live downtown. I've seen it all. I've seen it from what some would say were not nice days for downtown, because people used to complain that there was too many people on the streets. It was too loud. There was thousands and thousands of people downtown, and it was a horrible thing. And in the 90s, everybody wished it was back to the 70s where we had retail and all this. To now, the new thing is, well, why aren't we like the 90s when all these thousands and thousands of people were downtown? And so, I'm lucky enough, or I'm blessed to be able to be one of the crafters of the future.
Yeah.
People, we live in a society where people want now.
Yeah.
But I've been around long enough to know that that doesn't happen. So you have to lay the foundations, and I kind of feel like I'm laying the foundations of what the next 20 years are going to be downtown, and it takes time to do that, but I've seen it work in other cities. I've studied other cities. I've studied the downtowns. I know what it takes, and you have to start by laying the foundation for downtown to become what the next thing that everyone's going to complain about in 25 years is going to be, right? So it's got to be, you got to people always want what downtown or what anything was yesterday, but it never happens. It's never once in history ever happened. So what my job is to do is try and lay the foundation to make things better for what the next big thing is going to be down here. And that's essentially what I do on a day-to-day basis. And I try and rely on the experts and the people around me to do those things while I'm dealing with other things that sometimes I shouldn't be dealing with.
Yeah.
But I like to kick down those doors, because I'm not the kind of person that I don't accept no for an answer. So I work on things that, I push the edge. I push things to the edge in some cases for change down here, and it's an everyday battle. And then, of course, I'm the head of the complaint department.
Yeah, so absolutely.
When people got to complain about something, they call me, and I deal with that too. So,
well, I look forward to the day when people are complaining about too many people in the downtown core again, and I know it'll happen. And there's always cycles, right, to these types of things, and you'll see development, and you'll see amazing things kind of move forward, and we'll go back and forth. So we're definitely on the upswing, and there's definitely definitely a lot of momentum right now. And I think this kind of table convened as I was putting together the list of names of people I wanted to talk to. I ended up with like, this is a series, like this is 4 or 5 different podcasts that I'm going to have to host in order to talk to everyone that I think are dealing with all of the aspects of what it takes to make a livable, walkable, kind of breathing city in the downtown core. So very excited about that.
Thank you. And tech is like the big thing. Like tech is the big thing. So I'm happy to see all the work that you guys all continue to do around here.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's the future to me. It's like it's one of the, when I look at, you know, what the future of our downtown is going to be, tech is part of the Mount Rushmore of that. Right. And we've always for years and years and years and years in this city talked about, you know, what's besides being an automotive industry, what else could we be? And it's never been that. But the interesting thing about tech is it's become such a prevalent part of that industry as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. It is changing that industry in the future, for the future. And you see that change already happening. And what if we become the hotbed for that? But a lot of different automated things, and that segues into drones.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Thanks for stealing that one. No, it really does underpin, I think, what comes next in this region. And a lot of that's based on, right now for us, is creating the density down here of these types of companies. And Godfrey, you're joining us as kind of the newest downtowner to Windsor.
Yep.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about RIIS and your new home at 300 Let?
We usually say RIIS, but it's we've been around since I first moved here to the US, so not here, to the US in 98. And I've been running a software, like a staffing services company since then. And then about 10 years ago, we hit on, we were doing a lot of mobile apps, and we hit on the fact that we could do drone apps. And basically we just treat it like a mobile app, and it's connected to a camera, a flying camera.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is. So about 5 years ago, I could see that there was a lot of talent on the Canadian side of the border, so we set up a company. Of course, that was just before COVID hit, so we were all working remote, which was kind of weird because we had lots of interns. And basically what we've done is we've just kind of had a little place to hang out in a co-working space. Hats off to Shane Potvin, he helped us out a lot. And now we're in the University of Windsor in the master's program right there on 300 Let, and it's great. We found, I teach a lot of universities in the US, don't teach over here as yet, but we use that as a way of getting interns which turn into employees. And the interns that we get from University of Windsor have been really good. We've been very lucky, touch wood, and they've, we like to say, we like to find the interns that like to make their head hurt. There's a lot of kids there who really like the stuff we're doing. And it's going to be an explosive time with all the ChatGPT and LLM stuff that's happening. So if we can find bright minds, I think it's going to be really successful place in Windsor for, we're looking for the next 10 years or so.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I want to dive into the revitalization and talk a lot about kind of the opportunities that we're seeing here, but I don't think we can do that without first kind of addressing what those challenges are and what we're facing. And why I say this is because as a tech organization that represents startups in this space, problem solving is what founders do. It's what the companies do that we serve. And so we can't help them integrate unless we really understand those challenges. And so maybe I'll start with you from a council perspective of what are the challenges that we're kind of tackling right now in downtown Windsor? Well,
the biggest challenge is that no matter what we do when it comes to revitalization, no matter when it comes to really creating this density, whether it's more housing, more businesses come downtown, we're always going to be, and currently, overshadowed by the healthcare crisis that's happening, right? Whether it's the addictions or the mental health piece, everything we do is always overshadowed by that. And I try and focus on, I have a mantra in my mind: don't spend too much time focusing on the things that are out of your control, because you'll forget to do the things that are in your control. But I find that I'm spending more time digging deep into the mental health and addictions crisis that's happening, not just in our core, but in every core across really North America. And I guess if you were to ask me 3 years ago, the solutions that existed back then, or what I thought solutions were back then, to now, 2 totally different things. Right? 2 totally different things. When I look at what's happening in downtowns now, and I'm not just saying ours, I should have been smarter and said, follow the money. Right? If you follow the money and you see where that leads, it's very surprising when I see the issues that are happening downtown, and I follow the money, and you say, well, these poor people that are walking on our streets that are being dealing with this crisis, who's treating them and who's paying them? And when I look at, for example, the fact that I'm starting to see more methadone in pharmacies, clinics downtown than there are restaurants. Yeah. That's a strong indication of where the money's coming from and where it's going. So there's a lot of issues based in that, and that's, to me, is what I'm currently digging myself into right now, is understanding that world more and why that world seems to be flourishing so much. But it's not actually solving any problems, right? And figuring out how that's going to change and what levers or what advocacy I have to do to change that. Because right now, that is number one on the list of things that someone was to say to me, Councillor, what's the number one issue you see downtown? I would say bluntly, straight out, the pharmaceutical companies are making toxic decisions with human lives, and they don't care about the people. Those people are just debit cards to them. And the more that they can get them to swipe those cards and put more cash in their pocket, why do you think you see what you see? Right? And that, to me, is the biggest challenge that we face downtown, is dealing with that type of bureaucracy that's been set up for profit. Right? It's pure profit that these corporations are making. And it's not just them. It's, when a lawyer gets a call on a Saturday and says, hey, we got somebody else coming in, and the lawyer jokes and says, what day did you tell them? September 17th, September 29th, what day did you tell them? It doesn't matter. They're not going to show up. But don't worry. We're going to get $1,000. The other lawyer's going to get $1,000. The bailiff's going to get paid. The judge is going to get paid. Everyone's going to get paid. Do the math. Right? Do the math. And that's a serious issue that I'm having right now in the core, and I'm finding some very sinister things going on. But
it's important to dig into that stuff, and that we have organizations that are addressing those types of issues. And from an outsider's point of view, it looks like those types of organizations are working better together than they ever have in the past. And that coalition kind of approach to this work, I think, is so important. My background before WEtech was in social work, and so working in this space, you have to understand, like, it is really a team approach. And what you're doing is, right now, it's management of this challenge, not solving, right? So it's a different.
Well, that's exactly what it's. But is it even management? Sometimes I ask myself, when you see all these independents rolling in, and they treat these people like it's a Coke and Pepsi challenge. They show up to our shelters and vans and say, hey, come and join my pharmacy. Come and sign a contract with us so that we're going to be your caregivers. And it's like, how is this ethical? How is this ethical? Right. So it's a very interesting times that we're in as far as those challenges go.
And then kind of swinging in not an opposite direction, but the dichotomy of it is this idea that the downtown core is a place where business happens, right? And so this is a place where you have to create density, especially in a city and a municipality. Density breeds innovation. That is innovation is a byproduct of bringing people together from all different types of walks of life, but also from different industries, and saying, like, here are the opportunities for collision. How do you kind of go about that? So maybe the next kind of piece here is just talking about some of those items of revitalization that we're seeing, that sign of, things are on that upswing, or there's momentum in that process, where this is a challenge that continues to be a challenge. It's not going away. And we're not saying that you can sweep that under the rug. It has to be dealt with. But you can work on this much like tech companies do, not in a waterfall style, but more agile, right? You're working on multiple things at multiple times. And that's something that we're really interested in being a part of, is how do you start to contribute to some of these, upswing opportunities? And so Jasen, I'll kind of ask, like, from a revitalization perspective, what is RIIS seeing, or sorry, not RIIS, Rocket Innovation Studios, seeing downtown?
No, I think you had a really good way of phrasing it there too, of like the collision point, right? And I think that's what we've seen many times in downtown here and downtown Detroit. Luckily, I've been able to see that as Rocket moved in 2010 down to Detroit, is that sometimes it takes that little bit of friction to have that discussion, to have that awareness, to then make a strategy and make change. And I think that's exactly what we've seen coming here. Luckily, like I said, I've gotten to experience the revitalization of downtown Detroit and being there since the early days too. So it's going into a major city, and there's going to be different problems that you have to deal with. So luckily, we kind of knew we were getting into. But as we got here and started exploring and seeing Windsor in a different light than just the city across the river, we started seeing that we could actually help make a difference here, right? And I think the first part was just being here and having that presence and saying that we're not leaving and we want to be committed and invested. And then it was working with partners like the BIA, like the Windsor Police, like our buddy Renaldo here. And I do really sing his praises with everything that we've been seeing as changes happening in the downtown core, to then seeing that turn into actual civic action with something like the Strength in the Core initiative, right? Where we actually saw not only everybody in the community obviously saying they want change and to support the revitalization, but then the city council and community folks and members getting to hear that and see it, that there's a belief in the city. And I think we're starting to see a lot of those changes happen right here in the core.
Yeah, it's so amazing to kind of be a part of, but also to be able to pitch into it and help out with that process.
Absolutely.
And I know the team at Hackforge, like, you're no stranger to that either. There's so much work that you've done in bringing light to a lot of the data that we collect and how we're using that to move people and things across the core and really engage with it. Talk a little bit about some of the partnerships and opportunities that you've found with your organization.
It's interesting. There are so many different things that are happening downtown that everyone is always trying to find ways to work together, but because there are so many of us, sometimes it's just not possible to always tie in where you would like to. So there are, bucket list projects that I would love to be able to do, partnerships I would like to be able to form, but we have still been able to make some really great ones. And it sounds like a lot of the same as you guys have experienced. University of Windsor, St. Clair College, downtown BIA. The folks who are invested are really, really invested. And you can tell the difference between the organizations and projects that have a consistent year-round presence in the core versus those that are here for special events. They've got their set amount of time per year that they're going to spend downtown, and they'll do what they need to make it what they want for that period of time. And then elsewise, they work remotely from home, so it doesn't matter what is happening downtown. So I would love to be able to see some more of that kind of thing changing and making downtown better year round, as opposed to just when it is, working for you. So Hackforge, we have done a lot of things that is really just us pushing, we want more people to come downtown and go to WIF. Not that there's not a lot already. They don't need us to market for them. I'm not saying that. But to make WIF make sense for our audience, we will scrape their website every year to get as much data as we can about the films they're going to be showing and try to make a visualization about it. They're often like 62% documentaries and 48% are in English. And that kind of thing, maybe the average person doesn't care about, but our audience does. They love that, right? Yeah. WIF doesn't ask us to do this. We don't ask them if we can. We just do. And that's honestly how a lot of our partnerships start, because, like I said, there's so many things going on that people can't always actively be part of it. So we just force it.
Yeah.
Nicely, though.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. In a collaborative way. Yeah. I know you've been a part of a lot of things that you're proud of to kind of call, successes in the downtown core and parts of this revitalization. You want to talk to some of the things that you're most excited about right now?
Certainly about a lot of the new partners and new people coming in. We're seeing a lot of different change. I was by your building today and I could see that things look like either they're open in the basement or almost open in the basement. And it looks phenomenal, and they did a great job. And then obviously this building, and I know some things to come that I probably can't talk about. You guys started it all with the Loop building, the fish market, to see that change. And we're seeing some of this trend continue. It's very interesting because sometimes you see, I'll give you a perfect example of an interesting change. My buddies, as you alluded to, I was in the nightclub music business for quite some time, and my buddies owned Bull and Barrel and Disco Inferno, and they had some issues with their property there, and they were, I'll be honest, they were considering leaving downtown, but they didn't want to leave downtown. They like being here. They've been down here probably for 30 years, Matt and Christian and them, and The rhetoric has always been, if you're looking for a space downtown, forget about it. The landlords are greedy. The landlords, it's too much money for rent. I'm seeing that change because the tenants prior to them paid an incredibly high amount of rent and bills and this and that. And they were able to get into a great space, a legendary space, for a great price that is pushing them so hard to be successful, not because they feel this great debt to the downtown core. No, because they like to make money.
Yeah.
And part of making money, there's two ways you can make money when you're in that industry. You're either in a real hot spot where there's lots of foot traffic and you're paying a fortune in rent, or you're really good at what you do and you open up a spot where the rent is low and you're going to make a lot of money. That's right. You're going to make a lot of money because you're pulling that crowd and you don't have those expenses that you may have in another location anywhere else in the city. So I'm starting to see some of that movement when it comes to landlords finally saying, you know what, maybe just because I'm downtown anymore, maybe that's not worth it as it used to be. And it's interesting because what started to cause that is you're seeing every neighborhood, in a sense, almost get its own downtown now. Yeah. Whether you're in Walkerville, whether you're in Sandwich Town, and the city of Toronto just changed their bylaws for forever. As I remember, the city of Toronto, you couldn't open up per se a nightclub anywhere else in the city except for a designated area. The city of Toronto's done away with that because they see that you need to start shifting. And what you're going to see here, and and I say this all the time about what the future of downtown is. The future of downtown is the most vibrant neighborhood in the city. We're just missing the neighborhood part.
Yeah.
Right? We have all the industry, we have all the infrastructure, we have the beautiful riverfront. What we need is 5,000 more people living here.
Yeah.
5,000 more people living here, it's game over. Right? Then we could become the greatest, most vibrant neighborhood in the country. How many neighborhoods have a Caesars and a waterfront and have, a Capitol Theater and what we have? Like, we have so many great things here, and it's just going to take us time to get that built, get that done, because we have the projects already on the go. But, most of this stuff takes 5 to 10 years to build.
Of course, yeah.
And that's what I'm proudest most of, is that I think I came to council with that. I think everybody was afraid that when I got into council, everyone was like, he's going to turn it back into this hotbed of American mess. And no, because the history never repeats itself. What I see for the future of downtown is the neighborhood aspect, and council has made the decisions to push in that direction. And that's what I'm most proud of seeing that some of these, whether it's Karen Avenue, whether it's the Plisha, the COI, whether it's some of the stuff that's happening on the riverfront, the securities building where I used to have an office is soon will be open and leasing out apartments in there. The Canada building, I got a tour a few weeks ago. So I see the change coming, right? And once those people live down here, then you're going to get the grocery stores. Yeah. Then you're going to get the hat shops, the shoe stores, the retail stuff. But you got to have the density, and that's I would say my dream downtown. Right?
The biggest piece is building in that community. And Godfrey, I know, moved over here from the United States not too long ago and located here at 300 Let. What was it? Why Windsor? Why choose this location? And what was it that tipped the scales?
A lot of different reasons. A lot of it was the talent pool, really, honestly. And also, because I'm Irish, we don't really do borders very well.
Okay.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So for me, it just seemed like, well, why aren't we looking over there?
Yeah.
So, because it's quite hard to find talent on the US side, whereas here, it's just, we tried here and we were really successful. And I know you're all talking about the bad things, but I'm the outsider, so I get to see it with fresh eyes.
Yeah.
And there are, you see the drug deals and you see the homeless people. But I think with a little bit of kindness, I'm not seeing any aggression. I'm not seeing the type of things that I've seen in other cities. And I've lived in London, I've lived in Dublin, I've lived New York, all these different places. It doesn't feel like that. So there's definitely less aggression here. I would not feel worried about bringing people down to work in our office here. It's not something that I would think twice about. Certainly when I first moved to Detroit in the past, we definitely did think twice about moving downtown Detroit because of some of the aggressive panhandlers, but I don't see that here at all. I see it as being a much more of an easy environment to work in, and I don't see it as a hard place to attract talent. It's definitely not really coming up when we have conversations about, okay, we're not going to do remote anymore, you're going to have to come back to the office at least 2 or 3 days a week. Nobody has a problem. They want to try the restaurants. They want to see what's going on. And it's pretty favorable from, fresh eyes.
Yeah. When you talk a lot about, or we talk a lot about this idea around innovation and what does it really mean? And there's the tech aspect of it, right? The hardware, software side of things. But we also see a lot of innovation in how things are being tackled in the downtown core and how relationships are being built, collaborations are being built. And so I'm curious from each of you, and this is just kind of an open question, but what are those types of innovations that you're seeing in the downtown that you think are making the biggest difference today? And how do you think those are going to pay off in the next 5-10 years as you get down the road?
Yeah, I'll take a shot at this one. So I think one of the really cool things about the city of Windsor and what I've learned being here over the last 6 years is just how small it is and well connected, right? Like everybody knows each other. I think there's this pride of the city coming together. And I think what we're seeing from the true innovation point, kind of back to Renaldo's standpoint, is it's not going to be the same city that it was before. And I think that's kind of the innovative thinking around this is like, it's the city planning, it's the place making, it's making this a place where we're going to want to see white collar workers drip in, folks that are tired of living in Toronto, in the Waterloo area, or tired of commutes into the city. We've seen that already happen here, where we've seen folks want to move from the GTA down to Windsor because they can afford a home. They can travel in within 15 minutes. They can go home and see their kids at night when they're done working. And I think that's going to be the true innovative part for the city, is maybe not so much the tech, because that's what all the cities are doing to kind of revitalize. But I think it's going to be this kind of innovative view of what does Windsor mean? What does it look like? And it's not the little brother to Detroit. It's not a stopping point on the way to Toronto. It's its own unique thing and culture. And I think that's going to be the real big push going into the future. So actually not tech or anything related, but just think the mindset around how we're actually planning around the city, and then how some of the rest of the city and the wards and areas are actually seeing the downtown core as the future, not just a burden. It comes down to identity, really, and like carving that out. And I think acknowledging what the DNA is too, right? And kind of embracing that. Lauren, you're a resident down here. You've seen a lot of changes in the last little bit. How do you feel things are going in downtown?
It can be tough sometimes to keep the correct perspective when I'm looking at downtown. In my head, I'm often comparing what I see now to what I experienced when I first moved into the area when I was 19. I grew up in Harrow, so like very, very different kind of thing. And if I'm only focusing on what it was then versus what it is now, I lament a little bit. There are changes, they're different. But if I look at where we are now versus, 2020, when it was COVID and I'm out walking the streets on a Saturday night and I'm literally the only person, things are better, things are improving. I'm really loving some of the collaboration that we're seeing. I'm noticing a lot of different organizations and businesses that are partnering to make more out of a smaller space. So for example, RIIS moving into the actual space that is the University of Windsor. That's super cool. The new fog heads, fog and craft heads kind of merging in a singular space. Like that was a choice. It's cool. I'm glad something is still there. We would be losing something, with Fog Lounge officially moving out of downtown. So it's really kind of cool to see how dedicated folks can be to making it work at any cost. And that's such a Windsor thing.
Yes, that's very much part of the culture here. And you see a ton of that in, I think, all of our neighborhoods, but downtown definitely has a lot of concentration right now on making it better and building up that momentum around it.
Well, I'll take the tech. I'll do the tech answer then, because I'm playing in the tech world right now with so many different aspects of what we're doing downtown. I'll start with, of course, there's been this discussion of the camera system that we're working on downtown, which I'll be blunt, you guys have really mastered in Detroit. Now we can't go to that extent just because the laws are different, but we're going to be using, and I think people get they seem to think that we want to try and be this, vision from above, this
surveillance state.
But that's not what it's about. What it's about is setting up a system to be able to get supports to people immediately, right? I like, to your sense, that there's not much danger going on, but there's a lot of people who need help. And for some reason, our society has decided to look off those people. You see a person in need, you just keep driving. People are just, they don't care anymore.
Yep.
This camera system is going to be able to help with that, so we'll be able to get people to get the supports, to get support to those people immediately, rather than waiting for someone to finally call 311 or message me, and then I get a social work team out there, or I get the police out there, whatever the situation is. This is going to help because these cameras are going to focus on these businesses, right? And they're going to use artificial intelligence. There's a lot of AI going in there, and a lot of it is based off what Detroit did. And I did get a tour of the rocket stuff there, and it's phenomenal. The other thing is like the lighting we're switching downtown. You see the first 2 blocks done there. We should have the whole street done by. Actually, you guys are going to get a surprise right here on your street soon too. But I'm not going to spill the beans.
All right.
But that'll be done hopefully by Santa Claus Parade this year, and it's all like. It's so tech driven, so you can change it from your phone. And, if somebody wants to do like a baby reveal, I could do pink or blue downtown for somebody. Like, there's so much we're going to be able to do that it's all based in tech that didn't exist 25, 30 years ago. It just didn't exist. It existed 10 years ago, but the costs were so prohibitive because, but times have changed. Everything's working. But to me, the biggest thing that I'd love to see, and it's something I've been shopping around in both cities is, I feel that since we are the 2 automotive capitals here, and now's probably a tough time to have that discussion with everything that's going on in the Trump America and stuff. But even before this, even before the whole tunnel bus thing came up, I was saying, why do we not have an automated, like, autonomous service that'll take you back and forth between, whether it's something like the Q line, like that. But what if we had something that connected our 2 downtowns and in a way that would just be something that it's so not, I don't need seats, right? What I need is people to say, you know what, I want to go for a bike ride in Detroit this morning, right? I want to go hang out in downtown Detroit with my bike and my kids and go have a picnic there, or vice versa, right? I want to be able to have these 2 downtowns, like working together, integrated together. And I had a meeting with the Detroit Lions today. We're working on something huge for downtown, right? So the appetite for them to work with us is there because they really need us just as much as we need them, right? And the opportunities that exist are massive, and you're seeing it. You're seeing, I think some of it's been stalled because of the political situation, but man, before that happened, I was there once a week in meetings talking to people. Like, we had all these grandiose things. Some we've paused on. But when you look at the opportunity, and it really goes back to when I was younger in Windsor, and there was one thing that really tied everyone here together between the 2 cities. That wasn't sports. But it was like 89X was like Windsor, Detroit. And everybody over there knew everything. And it was kind of like this whole little thing that we had together. And, we lost that. And we're starting to kind of bring that back in certain ways, not just because obviously 89X is back, but we're starting to build these relationships with other partners there because the need is there. But unless we have a really smooth and simple way of visiting each other and not
removing the friction out of that process is key. What's interesting, so I was doing a lot of research this week. We're writing a proposal for something, and just looking at how entwined the 2 economies are. And like, obviously we have 2 major corporations here with us, but before Windsor was connected to Canada by rail, we were connected to downtown Detroit. So that economy that we have here, and you called it 2 capitals of automotive, and I think it really is one region, and the companies certainly see it as one region. And to your point, it's how do we remove that friction between the 2 and create this kind of seamless experience? And that in those terms, when we're talking about how not wanting, or history doesn't repeat itself, but there was a time when there was a very thin border there. And my grandfather grew up, he was a commercial fisherman selling fish to both sides of the border. He would go over for groceries and come back for the movie. You know what I mean? Like, it was so entwined there. And I think that there's opportunities to do that, to your point, through those new technology ways, where you can start to build in innovation to help that happen a little bit easier.
And I truly believe it's based on transportation, right? I think the future of our city is not just cars, but other forms of moving around, whether it's electric bicycles, scooters, certain things. And then you have a battery plant that's now got us in the energy business. And batteries aren't just being used for cars, right?
No, it's like, everything now.
It's everything. So we have opportunity. We just got to go out there and get it, right?
Oh, for sure. Godfrey, if there's a business that's listening to this in the US, what do you want them to know about this location in terms of ease of access?
It's just the lack of friction. So to set something up here is pretty straightforward. The school system is excellent. So like, trying to get students from University of Windsor, I would say typically our success rate is When we bring somebody in on the US side as an intern, it's 50-50 whether they stay and come work with us. I'd say it's 80% here. So the school system's phenomenal. Long may it continue. But the lack of friction, like we talk to people, you're big fish in a small sea now.
Yeah.
So it's like it's really easy to get good prime stuff. That what you mentioned about the prices, the prices in Detroit are going up. I tried to get places in there. It's less here. It's a lot less here. So you can get really prime space, nice space for significantly less what you get over there.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of end it, Godfrey. We'll start with you on this last question, which is, what do you want people to know about the space, and what do you think people can do, businesses, individuals, groups, nonprofits, to help build here in the downtown core? What's that call to action for you?
What's the call to action? I don't know. It's like, I just get the feeling that you're right at the stage where it's going to get so much better. That's what it really feels like. It's like there's some issues, but there's issues in every city, but I just feel like there's going to be a phenomenal change in the tech world over the next 5 to 10 years with all the stuff that's going to happen, not just drones. That's just a tiny part of it. If you're going to if you're going to be able to get on that train, the only way that you can do it is to have good people to do the work. And the people are here. So that's what I would say. Come and experience it and find out what's available. And it's like there is a huge issue with the talent pool in the States, which I'm not experiencing here.
Yeah, that's amazing. Renaldo.
Get in now. I feel the same way.
Yeah, definitely.
We're on this cusp of change, right? And now's the time to get in, right? Because if you get in now, the opportunity is there. And 5-10 years, you'll still want in, but the ease of access of getting in won't be the way it is right now. So certainly, now's the time.
Lauren.
I'm going to take it in a pretty different direction. Don't do your research on Reddit. Reddit, especially some of the Windsor subreddits, man, they can be like so negative towards downtown.
An echo chamber of toxicity.
Yeah, right? Like, also, don't be afraid to pay for parking. This is more to people, right? More than businesses. Paying for parking is not the end of the world. There's a ton of parking available downtown. Don't be afraid to spend your quarters or your loonies or your toonies on it. It is worth it because there's cool stuff happening down here. So engage with the people who are here, right? And that's really what all of this comes down to. Don't base your opinions or your decisions on online reviews. Come experience it for yourself. And that means, in many cases, because Windsor Transit is what it is, drive, pay to park, you'll be okay, and you're going to have a good time.
Jasen.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think it's really inspiring to have Godfrey here too, and see somebody else that is coming from the U.S. perspective and just seeing how massive the opportunity is. And I agree with all of you. I think this powerhouse of just Ontario, period. I think Windsor's kind of that last piece to fully come full form. And I agree. Once it does, I think it's going to be a place that people are going to have a desire to be.
Yeah.
They're going to love that interconnectivity to the other side, right? To be able to go to the U.S. if they want to, and then have this corridor to the rest of Ontario. I think it's going to be a place where a lot of people are going to want to put down their roots and not just be a traversing city anymore. It's going to be a place where they can grow generationally.
That's awesome. Well, we talk a lot about Windsor Essex being, where Canada begins. And so I appreciate all of you so much for being here today to talk about the core of that, the heart of that. I am so humbled to be on a panel with all of you, to be able to know all of you and see the work that you're doing here to actually make change here is really incredible. And we look forward as an organization at WEtech to being a part of it and being in the neighborhood here. So if you're interested, please come make with us, come here to move with us. This is a space that is going to be something spectacular in the years to come. And if you want to be a part of it, get in now. Perfect. Thank you all.